Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today for day 8 of Note to Self from Bythewell4God. This day was written by Taryn, who is Wonderfully Made Handcrafting. Sorry for the abrupt shift here. I realized I lost some footage there, but what I have done is I distressed the edges of the flashcards and of Taryn's picture, and now I'm going to be making a little envelope using my We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. I have a mini version and a regular version, and so I'm using the mini version today, and I just measured Taryn's picture just to kind of get the right idea for the size of what I wanted this envelope to be. I thought maybe I would put her picture in the envelope this time, and I ended up not doing that. But so anyway, you can use the little guide on this punch, and it tells you how big your piece of paper needs to be to end up with a certain size of envelope. And then it also tells you where to place that paper at first on the punch board, and then there's just a little alignment guide, and you punch and then you rotate counterclockwise, you go all the way around. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm using the pattern paper that coordinates with the kit, and I'm sorry I'm having to lift it up because on this busier pattern it's kind of hard to see where my score line is, but I'm just scoring with the little tool that it gave there, and then you just kind of line it up with that little line there that's sticking out, and then on this back side of this you can round the corners. So that's what I'm going to do here, and then all I have to do is fold along the score lines, and I will have a cute little envelope to put on my page. And because this is the page for Taryn, I'm going to kind of try to keep this as neutral as I can, I guess, because if you follow Taryn at all, you know she is a lover of all things vintage and neutral. So I'm going to distress everything with my ground espresso archival ink. Here I'm just going to glue down the two little sides of my envelope, and then that will be done. I did actually also distress the little fold just to kind of give it some extra interest and give it that nice vintage look. So I know at this point this is going to go somewhere on the right side. I was thinking I would put her picture here or even inside. So I left a lot of this footage in where I'm just kind of fiddling around with how I'm doing this, because when I really sat down to work on this page, I had no idea where I was going to go with this. So I have already written all my scriptures on the back of the flashcards, and then I had this other tag with another scripture. And then I felt like I needed some fabric or a little fabric ruffle. So what I have done is I have used some fabric that I got that coordinates, and then I ran some dot adhesive down the edge, and I'm going to kind of create some little faux pleats here, and then just I'm just folding the fabric and then kind of using that glue to kind of keep it in place. And then I'm actually going to go back through with my sewing machine. My fabric wasn't quite long enough, so I had to kind of piece two together, but it was easy enough. I just tucked that one strip right underneath the other one, and no one will ever know. So I have this little Singer Stitch Quick machine. If you have followed me at all, you know I do not actually know how to sew, but this little sewing machine is just the best thing. So until I get brave enough to actually get myself a sewing machine, this works for the little jobs that I have. And then I'm just tying knots at the edges. And then I felt like no page would actually be complete if it was a Taryn page without some hymnal paper. So I have pulled out this one, and I actually found the hymn that's the Wonderful Words of Life. And Taryn's talking a lot about in her day about dividing the word, that scripture that says we're supposed to rightly divide the word of truth. And so this hymnal was just like, it was just perfect. So I ended up tearing it so that I have part of it on one page and then part of it on the other. I pulled out some Tim Holtz ephemera, and I have this one that looks like it's like a book cover. And so I thought I just would make a little vintage book to go on Taryn's page. So I folded it in half. I'm adding some distress ink on both the inside and the outside. And then I'm literally just going to take some little tiny scraps of paper and fold them like a little signature inside this little cover. And I didn't add a whole lot of paper on there. You could certainly, make a little beefy book if you wanted to. But I didn't want it to be like too bulky in my actual journal. So I just added 2 or 3 little pieces of paper, and then I actually thought about sewing it. But I was afraid my needle would just be way too big. So what I'm going to do is actually use my Tim Holtz tiny attacher and just kind of staple it along the spine, and then it will kind of hold everything together. You can't really see the staples in the end because they're kind of just a little bit onto the back side, which is great. But I really wanted to sew it. I just didn't think I could do it without messing it up. So added a little bit more distress ink there, and then I'm going to add even a little bit more. I'm using just the Distress Foundry Wax. This is in the statue color, and I'm going all the way around my little book here, even down the spine. And then I had some left over, and I didn't really want to waste this foundry wax, so I decided after I got my little book all done that I didn't really want to waste what was there. So I'm going to go ahead and go around the edge of the hem paper. So not completely, it's not a real solid edge, just kind of here and there, just real distressed. And then I'm taking my heat tool and melting that. I'm using tweezers with this little Bible because you don't want to have your fingers, right up next to that. And then just as a side note, whenever you're using foundry wax, you want to make sure that the bottle is far away from you when you're heat setting it. So, because it can set it in the bottle if you're not careful. So at this point, I think I need to make a little cluster over here on the left side with my little picture of Taryn. And I have this other scripture written out on this tag, and I'm thinking I'm going to create a little pocket here for that to go behind that hymnal paper. I'm just kind of now creating my cluster with these little elements. These are some Tim Holtz ephemera pieces, and I'm trying to pull over a little bit of this this teal color, but also trying to keep the look of this pretty vintage if I can. So I'm going to change out those 2 pieces, and then I'm going to add in, this is the part I left in where you can kind of just see me fiddling with all these different pieces. I had pulled out several different options. I have these little Tim Holtz labels. All these little pieces right here are from Tim Holtz. And I'm just kind of moving them around, trying to get the best look for that. I didn't really like that little tiny label there. I tried it in a couple different places, and then I remembered I had a little stamp, which is super cute. So I went ahead and just tucked that on there on that ledger paper that's back there. And then that will do for my little cluster. I think I need just a little bit more, just something else. So again, you can see me just kind of fiddling with everything. And then I had a bigger label. So I'm going to try that in a couple different places, just until I get the look that really just kind of satisfies. It's all, personal preference. And so now I'm just starting to glue all of these little pieces down, just making sure everything's kind of where I want it. And I'm starting sort of from the top down. So I glued down the stamp, and now I'm gluing down the little ledger paper. And I don't really like to waste things when they're kind of tucked behind other things. So I'm actually going to cut part of this off, and then I can use that other half in another project. And so I glued this part of the hymnal paper just down on 3 sides to create a pocket. And then I have these other pieces that I'm just going to glue down. So now I'm just kind of getting everything into the position that I want it, making sure my little cluster looks the way that I want it before I glue it down. So I'm gluing all the pieces of it together, and then at the end I will actually glue it down to my page. And I did the same thing with this label. I ended up only using like half of it. Then I can always use that other half on another page. So again, just you see me fiddling with this quite a bit, back and forth and back and forth, and then testing out my little tag back there in that pocket. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue down my little mini book inside my mini book here. And then I now can glue down this entire cluster here on this left side. So everything's kind of stuck together. I'm just adding the glue and gluing it down, and I still have my little pocket back there as well. So off camera, I put the title on, I used the clear alpha stickers and some of the pattern paper, and I spelled out divide the word. That's the title for Taryn's Day. And so I use my decal edge cutter on the bottom, and then I'm leaving the straight edge across the top. So I'm going to make this flush with the top, but I wanted to trim it down just a little bit more. I'm going to add Distress ink all the way around this and then glue it down. And when I do this, I realize that I'm going to have a little bit of a problem with my tag. So because I added the little ribbon to the top of my tag, which I'm trying to find right now, sorry, I'm so kind of frantic there. When I put it in there, it's just going to cover up the title, and I know that that's just going to annoy me. So I decided to move that tag over to the right side. And so I'm just going to glue my little envelope down here on kind of like 3 sides, or 2 sides, 2.5 sides, I guess. Just and make a little tuck spot over there so I can tuck my little tag in there. And then I also have a Tim Holtz little mini paper clip that I put here. I didn't really need that. I just wanted to add that because it's cute, and Taryn loves all things Tim Holtz, don't we all? And this is my Ode to Taryn page. So I also have the stencil, which is actually her grandfather's handwriting. And so because I don't have my tag there to kind of take up that visual space, I wanted to add just something else in the background. So I'm just taking that same archival ink and ground espresso and just very carefully only stenciling in on the craft paper. And so there's a part here I want to get a little bit closer to this hymnal, so I'm just using a sticky note, and that way I can just stencil right along there and it'll look like it's behind that paper. And then I'm going to do it down the spine, or on this right side, just to add a little bit more interest. I don't want it to be like super obvious or anything, but it's just going to give some visual texture to that back page as well. So that is pretty much it for me. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.